Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, like something was stolen from you? You were not physically harmed, yet something felt off, like your emotions had been twisted against you. If that sounds familiar, you may have encountered a narcissist. Narcissists thrive on control. They manipulate, deceive, and distort reality to keep you in their grip. They know exactly how to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries and make you doubt your own perspective. But what if I told you that there is one simple question that can expose them instantly? One question that cuts through their illusions and forces them to reveal their true nature? Today, we are not just talking about narcissism. We are taking a deep dive into their mindset, their insecurities, and the fragile egos that drive them. More importantly, you will learn how to reclaim your power and protect your peace without losing your compassion. By the end of this video, you will understand the psychology behind their behavior, recognize their tactics, and learn how to apply this question effectively. You will also see how Stoic philosophy provides the ultimate mindset to resist manipulation and maintain control over your emotions. This is not about fighting with narcissists or changing them. That is beyond our control. It is about understanding them, staying firm, and mastering our own responses. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Stay with me, because this knowledge will not just help you deal with narcissists. It will change the way you approach all difficult conversations in life. Are you ready to reclaim your power? Let's begin. To deal with narcissists effectively, we must first understand them. Their behavior is not random. It follows a pattern, a cycle of control, manipulation, and emotional exploitation. A narcissist's core belief is that they are superior. They crave admiration, avoid accountability, and lack empathy. Their relationships are not based on mutual respect, but on power and control. The Stoics had a clear perspective on people like this. Marcus Aurelius warned us that every day we will meet people who are arrogant, deceitful, and self-absorbed. He said, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. You cannot stop people from being manipulative. You cannot force them to change, but you can control how you respond. Their behavior is a reflection of them. Your reaction is a reflection of you. Stoicism teaches us that our power lies in our response, not in controlling others. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. They want you to get angry, to feel guilty, to explain yourself endlessly. That is how they manipulate you. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That is the key to dealing with narcissists. Do not let them pull you into their emotional chaos. The moment you react emotionally, you give them control. The moment you stay calm, they lose power over you. But staying calm does not mean tolerating abuse. It means being strategic. It means recognizing their patterns, staying firm in your boundaries, and using logic instead of emotion. And that is where the power of the right question comes in. A single question, used correctly, can shift the entire dynamic. It can reveal the truth and expose their manipulation. Before we get to that question, let's first look at the warning signs. If you know how to recognize a narcissist early, you can avoid getting trapped in their games. Not everyone who is selfish or arrogant is a narcissist, but there are clear signs that reveal a pattern of narcissistic behavior. If you recognize these early, you can protect yourself before the manipulation begins. One of the biggest red flags is entitlement. Narcissists believe they deserve special treatment. They expect others to prioritize their needs, even at great personal cost. If you say no, they react with anger or guilt tripping. Another key trait is a lack of empathy. Narcissists do not care how their words or actions affect others. They may pretend to care when it benefits them, but their concern is always superficial. When confronted with someone else's pain, they dismiss it, minimize it, or shift the blame. They also have an excessive need for admiration. They constantly seek validation and attention. When they do not receive it, they become irritated, dismissive, or even aggressive. Compliments are never enough. They need to be seen as superior. A more subtle but dangerous trait is manipulation. Narcissists twist conversations to serve their own narrative. They deny things they previously said, distort reality, and make you doubt your own memory. This tactic, known as gaslighting, makes their victims feel confused and powerless. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you are surrounded by manipulation and deceit, it can distort your perception of reality. That is why recognizing these behaviors is the first step to protecting yourself. Pay attention to how they respond when you express a need or set a boundary. A healthy person will listen, consider your perspective, and adjust their behavior if necessary. A narcissist will push back, argue, or try to make you feel guilty. Do not ignore these warning signs. Narcissists do not change because they do not see themselves as the problem. The best way to reveal their true nature is to observe how they react under pressure. There is one question that can force them into a moment of truth. If you use it correctly, you will see their mask slip in real time. Let's look at that question and how to apply it effectively. There is one question that can expose a narcissist instantly. It is simple, direct, and impossible for them to answer honestly without revealing their true nature. The question is this: can you explain why your needs always seem to matter more than mine? Or, in another form, how do you feel about dismissing my boundaries to satisfy your own desires? This question is powerful because it forces them to confront their behavior. It shifts the focus from their excuses to their motivations. It challenges them to justify why they believe they deserve special treatment. A healthy person, when asked this question, will reflect on their actions. They may reconsider their behavior, acknowledge your feelings, or attempt to find a compromise. A narcissist, however, will react in predictable ways. Their response will reveal everything you need to know. There are 3 common reactions to this question. The first is anger. They may lash out, insult you, or accuse you of being selfish. Their goal is to intimidate you into backing down. The second is denial. They will act as if the issue does not exist. They may say, "I never did that," or "You are imagining things." This is a classic gaslighting tactic designed to make you doubt yourself. The third is victimhood. Instead of answering, they will turn the conversation around to make you feel guilty. They may say, "I cannot believe you would accuse me of that," or "I do everything for you, and this is how you treat me." What you will not get is a calm, reasonable answer. A narcissist cannot give one because their behavior is not based on logic. It is based on control. This question disrupts their game. It forces them into a position where they either admit their selfishness or try to manipulate you into dropping the issue. Either way, their reaction gives you clarity. Stoicism teaches us that we do not need to argue or prove ourselves to people who refuse to listen. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When you ask this question, do not engage in their emotional reactions. Observe. Stay calm. Let their response reveal the truth. What do you do next? You maintain your boundary. You do not argue, explain, or justify. You do not need their approval to stand your ground. When you learn to use this question strategically, you shift the power dynamic. The narcissist no longer controls the conversation. You do. But knowing the right question is not enough. You must also know how to protect yourself with strong boundaries. Let's look at how Stoic principles can help you stand firm without losing your inner peace. Knowing how to expose a narcissist is important, but it is only half the battle. The real challenge is enforcing your boundaries and refusing to let them manipulate you again. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are guidelines for how you allow others to treat you. They define what is acceptable and what is not. A person with strong boundaries does not need to explain or justify them. They simply uphold them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the foundation of a Stoic approach to boundaries. You cannot control how others react to your boundaries, but you can control whether you uphold. Narcissists see boundaries as obstacles to their control. A healthy person will respect your limits, but a narcissist will see them as a challenge. If they can push past them once, they will do it again. That is why your response must be firm and consistent. When you set a boundary, keep it simple. Do not over-explain or give them room to argue. Instead of saying, "I do not have time for this right now," say, "I am not available." Instead of saying, "I feel uncomfortable when you speak to me that way," say, "Do not speak to me that way." The moment you explain, you open the door for them to challenge you. Narcissists do not respect explanations. They look for weak spots. Do not give them any. They will twist your words, make you feel guilty, or accuse you of being unfair. If they do not respect your boundary, repeat it without emotion. Do not argue. Do not engage in their attempts to manipulate you. Seneca said, "He who has great power should use it lightly." Your power is in your ability to stay calm and in control. When you enforce a boundary, do not raise your voice or show frustration. The less emotional you are, the less control they have over you. A narcissist may try to test your limits by provoking you. They may use insults, threats, or guilt to make you react. Do not fall into the trap. Your silence and self-control will frustrate them more than any argument ever could. Protecting your peace is not cruelty. It is self-respect. And the more you practice it, the stronger you become. Now, let's look at real-life examples of how these principles work in practice. Understanding the theory behind narcissistic behavior is important, but applying it in real situations is where real growth happens. Let's go deeper into real-life examples where this question can be used to reveal a narcissist's true nature. Imagine you have a colleague who always expects you to handle their responsibilities. At first, you help because you believe in teamwork, but over time you realize that they are taking advantage of your kindness. When you finally set a boundary and say that you can no longer take on extra work, they respond with guilt-tripping. They say, "I thought you were a team player. I have so much on my plate. Are you really going to leave me struggling like this?" At this moment, instead of explaining or justifying yourself, you calmly ask, "Can you explain why my workload is less important than yours?" This shifts the responsibility back onto them. If they get defensive, make excuses, or attack you, they are revealing their mindset. If they were genuinely overwhelmed, they would ask for help respectfully rather than expecting you to carry their burden. Now let's consider a family situation. You have a relative who constantly criticizes your choices. No matter what you do, they find a way to undermine you. They say things like, "You always think you know best, but you have no idea how the real world works." In the past, you may have tried to defend yourself, only for the conversation to spiral into more accusations. But this time, you take a different approach. You ask, "How do you feel when you dismiss my perspective instead of listening to it?" A healthy person might pause and reflect. A narcissist, however, will react in one of three ways. They will either get angry and insult you, act like they never said anything offensive, or shift the blame onto you. No matter how they respond, they have given you valuable information. If someone refuses to acknowledge your feelings, they are telling you that they do not respect them. Now let's look at an example in a romantic relationship. You notice a pattern with your partner. Whenever you bring up something that bothers you, they never take responsibility. Instead, they blame you. If you say that something they did hurt you, they respond with, "You are too sensitive." If you did not make a big deal out of everything, we would not have these arguments. Instead of getting caught in the trap of defending your emotions, you ask, "Can you explain why my feelings do not matter in this relationship?" This is a question that no reasonable person can ignore. If your partner values you, they will consider your words. If they dismiss you, deflect, or attack you for even asking, they are showing you that they do not care about your emotional well-being. These examples illustrate one crucial point. Narcissists reveal themselves when they are asked to explain their behavior. They cannot handle direct questions because their power comes from controlling the conversation. When you ask them to justify their actions, you take that control away. Let me share a personal story. I once had a friend who always made our conversations about them. Whenever I shared something important to me, they would quickly turn the discussion back to their own experiences. Over time, I started noticing that they never asked about my life, my challenges, or my feelings. One day, I decided to test their reaction. After another long conversation about their problems, I asked, "Can you explain why my experiences never seem to matter in our conversations?" Their response was immediate. They laughed and said, "That is not true. I always listen to you." But when I asked them to name the last thing I had told them about my life, they could not answer. Instead of admitting it, they got defensive and changed the subject. That was the moment I realized that this friendship was not balanced. I did not argue or demand a apology. I simply observed their reaction and made a decision. After that day, I made a decision. No more reaching out first. No more investing in someone who did not invest in me. And just as I expected, they disappeared. The moment I stopped being useful, I stopped existing in their world. That told me everything I needed to know. That experience taught me an important lesson. People who truly value you will listen when you speak. They will not dismiss your concerns, avoid accountability, or make you feel guilty for having needs. Stoicism teaches us that we do not need to confront or change people. We only need to observe them and decide how we respond. When you ask a narcissist the right question and they react poorly, you do not need to argue. You do not need to explain yourself further. You simply take the information they have given you and adjust your actions accordingly. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, they do not deserve access to your energy. If they refuse to acknowledge your feelings, they are showing you that their needs will always come first. The key is to pay attention and act with wisdom. Let's now move into specific strategies and practical tips that will help you apply these insights in any situation. Applying these strategies in everyday situations requires awareness, patience, and self-control. Let's go through some additional scenarios where narcissists try to manipulate others and how you can respond with confidence. Imagine you are dealing with a narcissistic boss. They expect you to work overtime without compensation and constantly pressure you to take on more responsibilities than your job requires. When you express concerns, they dismiss you by saying, "This is just how things work." If you want to succeed, you need to be willing to put in extra effort. Instead of defending yourself or arguing, you ask, "Can you explain why my work-life balance is not as important as company demands?" This question forces them to justify their expectations. If they respond with anger or avoidance, it confirms that they do not respect your boundaries. In this case, you have a decision to make. If your workplace does not value fairness, you must decide whether it is worth staying. Now let's consider a family scenario. A relative frequently makes passive-aggressive comments about your choices. During a gathering, they say, "It must be nice to have such an easy life while the rest of us are working so hard." Your old reaction might have been to explain yourself or laugh it off, but this time you remain calm and ask, "How do you feel when you criticize others instead of showing support?" A narcissist will not reflect on their words. They will either get defensive, deny their behavior, or try to make you feel guilty. This reaction confirms that their words are not about you. They are about their need to feel superior. Once you recognize that, their comments lose power over you. Let's move to a relationship scenario. Your partner often dismisses your concerns and refuses to take responsibility for their actions. When you try to talk about an issue, they say, "You always make things so dramatic. If you were not so emotional, we would not have these problems." Instead of justifying your emotions or trying to convince them that your feelings are valid, you ask, "Can you explain why my emotions do not deserve to be acknowledged?" This forces them to confront their dismissive behavior. If they genuinely care, they will reflect and adjust. If they deflect, shift blame, or get angry, they are showing you that they are unwilling to respect your feelings. These scenarios highlight the same principle. The key is not to engage in arguments or try to make a narcissist understand your perspective. The goal is to ask a direct question, stay calm, and observe their reaction. It is time to take action. These strategies mean nothing if they stay in your mind. Let's go over practical steps to apply them today, starting now. First, always stay calm. Narcissists feed on emotional reactions. The less you react, the more control you maintain. Second, do not justify or over-explain. The more details you give, the more they will twist your words. Keep your responses short and direct. Third, if they refuse to answer your question or become hostile, do not engage. Silence is more powerful than an argument. Finally, remember that you are not responsible for changing them. You are only responsible for protecting your peace and enforcing your boundaries. Now, let's summarize the key lessons and reflect on how Stoicism provides the ultimate mindset for dealing with toxic people. Everything we have discussed leads to one simple truth. You cannot change a narcissist, but you can change how you respond to them. Narcissists thrive on confusion and emotional reactions. They manipulate, deflect, and twist reality to serve their own needs. But once you recognize their patterns, you take away their power. The key lesson is this: instead of arguing with them, Instead of trying to explain yourself or prove your worth, ask the right question and observe their response. Can you explain why your needs should come before mine? How do you feel about dismissing my boundaries? These questions force them to reveal themselves. Their reaction tells you whether this is a person who respects you or someone who only values control. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That is the essence of Stoicism. Focus on your own principles. Set boundaries that reflect your self-respect. Do not waste energy trying to fix people who refuse to change. Seneca reminds us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Many people fear confrontation because they imagine the worst outcome. But the reality is this. The more you practice holding your ground, the stronger you become. The moment you stop explaining yourself to narcissists, you break free from their control. Your peace is worth protecting. Your energy is worth saving. And your boundaries deserve to be respected. Let's close with a final reflection and a powerful call to action that will help you apply everything you have learned today.